welcome back, Dumpster Goblins.
Hey everybody, it's your favorite people, me, Dan, and the silent member of our show, Steve, who's been there the whole time.
Yeah, good old Steve.
Yep, so if you have any complaints, make sure you email Steve and leave me alone.
Yeah, at stevemail.com.
Stevemail.com. Do not text me. Do not message me. I did nothing wrong. Please don't be mad at me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I thought this episode too, if we wanted to, if you guys might have heard the last couple episodes, including this one, maybe the audio sounded not like shit. Quick shout out, a buddy of ours, Tyler, who we're hoping to have on in a couple of weeks here, has graciously donated his time to help us edit our audio down.
Yep,
so,
and he knows
thanks,
way more about this stuff than we ever will. So,
yeah.
Yep. So make sure you email Steve and tell him to thank Tyler.
Yeah, let Steve know that Tyler to thank. But yeah, so for this podcast, this episode, whatever we're on, Trey and I, we both have been working through our challenge shows, if you guys remember, and I think we've got some opinions or two.
Absolutely. Do we want to go through what we've been playing this week first, and then save that for the end?
Yeah, if you want to do that. I haven't been playing a whole lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, mostly I've been watching, I've been watching a show, mostly, about halfway through.
Yeah, what have you been watching?
Okay, so one of my favorite sci-fi series got made into a TV show on Netflix. Got released, as of recording, a week ago. So, it's called Altered Carbon. It's based off of a sci-fi trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. I don't think there's been any more books in that series. But it's a really, really interesting book series because the way it's set up is, it's 300 years in the future. Also, this setup is going to sound very familiar to you, Dan, if you since you love the Mass Effect series, just because I don't know who stole from who in this instance. But okay, so humanity found this alien ruin on Mars, and because of that, they jumped their technology several 100 years in the future, basically.
Yeah, that's Mass Effect.
Yeah, no, right? But the major thing about this one is the people, when they found out a way to digitize consciousness, basically, and so they have this thing in their necks called the cortical stack, and the cortical stack holds your entire being in it, so your consciousness is there. So if anything happens to your body, say you get hit by a car or get shot or something, and your body dies, they can remove your cortical stack, put it in someone else, and that would just be you.
Oh, okay. Do they pick another person to put it into, or are
they basically bodies are just basically disposable now, essentially. So in the first episode of the show, when they wake up the main character Takeshi, there's this girl was shot. This little girl, 9 years old, was shot in a hit and run, right? And so she was put in this storage facility until the government could find her a body. And the body she ends up getting is a 45-year-old woman, and it's just and the parents couldn't afford a good skin. They call them sleeves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they couldn't afford a good husk, so is that why she got the 45-year-old woman?
She just gets whatever the government can find, essentially.
Yeah. Are there still people who I'm guessing it's probably a big point of the show, but are there people who still just choose to die?
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's actually a really big thing. I'm glad you brought it up, because there's basically it's called Neo-Catholicism, where they so the Neo-Catholics, they believe that the life you have is your life. God will not accept you into heaven if you spin yourself back up out of your cortical stack. They're listed. There's a listing they put themselves under called a no resuscitate thing.
Yeah, basically the same as a DNR in the real world.
Yeah, exactly. If they die, there's no they just choose to just not be spun back up ever.
Mm-hmm. No, that's pretty interesting. I mean, that's a whole morality thing and that show doesn't exactly sound like my cup of tea. I might check it out because I'm not super, super huge into sci-fi, as you know.
Yeah. And it
sounds interesting.
It's tilted more towards hard sci-fi. For those who don't know, hard and soft sci-fi are soft sci-fi would be Star Wars, where it's it's a fantasy, but it's set in space, so it's sci-fi. Technically, whereas hard sci-fi is something
Blade Runner.
Yeah, well, Blade Runner. If you go 100 years in the future, this future could happen, but it's I'd say it's middle of the road, just because they add aliens, and whenever you add aliens, it's okay, we don't know anything about that, so that's not necessarily true or not.
Yeah, that airs more on the side of fantasy than
exactly.
Things that are for sure going to happen.
Yeah, and I think it's still fun. It's kind of like a crime noir show, but it's but it's set in this really, really interesting setting. I really, really like the setting of the show. The main character, Takeshi Kovacs, is interesting because like he was born on a planet that's basically like a Asian dominated planet. It's like feudal.
Okay.
So he's actually born Asian, but like when he gets spun back up, he was part of this thing called the Envoys, and he ends up dying 200 years in the past, and they spin him back up in this white man. He's basically a guy. He's just a white guy in the show.
Yeah. I know you'd mentioned that because you were almost predicting there would be some fan backlash,
not fan backlash. No, not fan backlash. I was predicting there might have been just backlash in general, just because whitewashing, but it's accurate to the book. That's what happened. Elias Riker is white in the book, and that's the
it's not like it's not like the Ghost in the Shell thing.
Where Makoto is very obviously Asian in the show or in the anime.
Yeah. Well, that's an argument that always happens with anime is people are like, oh well, if they're supposed to be Japanese, why are they drawn to look white?
Yeah, and it's a silly. I think it's a contextual thing personally, where like if they're in a very obvious, like if the show is set in New York City, but they're speaking Japanese because that's the native language. I think if they were to recreate that in like a physical form and they made it white people, whatever. I don't really see.
Yeah, it'd be like the Ancient Magus Bride. Spoiling things we talked about sooner, but like if they remake the Ancient Magus Bride, it's gonna be British people. Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that doesn't bother me. But, like, you have a show set in Japan, then, like Ghost in the Shell was, then, I'm going to have a few minor issues with you casting a white person. Apparently, in the movie, I didn't see it, but apparently they incorporated it into the story. I still think it was a mistake, personally, because,
I heard the movie was overall decent. I know some buddies of ours liked it. Ethan really liked it, I think. I never bothered to see it. I haven't seen, like, anything Ghost in the Shell, but...
Yeah, I heard it was inoffensive. It was just like it was an okay movie. That's everyone was been telling me.
Yeah. But I don't know, like I said, I'm not super big into sci-fi, which actually if you want to switch gears, I can talk about a show I've binged over the last week and a half.
Oh, sure, hit me.
Yeah, it's totally not my element. I know I've been telling you about it, but Black Mirror,
Yeah, you've been really into that recently, like in the past few days.
Yeah, I think it's just like I don't know. I liked it a lot. It's everybody I'm pretty sure knows what Black Mirror is by now. It's whole kind of Twilight Zone-y, but about how dystopian technology futures can happen or bad things that can come out of technology, and it plays off of a lot of stuff that's actually going on. The one thing that you actually were talking about with the cerebral, the spine things.
Yeah, the cortical stacks,
Yeah. Also, I think you're going to mention the Boston Market.
Dynamics, but Boston Market. Yeah, Boston Dynamics, the robots they've been making.
Yeah, there's one episode that's just those robot dogs are running around killing people and they don't know why. Yeah, but what was I saying?
The cortical stacks.
Yeah, there's a couple episodes that deal with the idea of like putting your consciousness into like a puck, basically, or in one of them it does this really weird kind of idea where you can take a version of your consciousness and then basically plug it into a base to make it a smart house, to make your house a smart house.
Okay.
But it's kind of like this weird thing because the you that is the smart house has like a conscience and feelings and emotions and thinks that's a real person.
Right. But is the you that's in the house separate from the person who put that you in the house, or is this like when you put it in yourself in the house, you just like turn your body off or whatever?
No, your body's still on. It's basically like a copy of your consciousness that runs your house, and that's its only thing to do.
Okay.
And I hate to make the reference, but it's kind of like and that episode I really like too, because do you know John Hamm, if I say who that is?
No.
He's done some roles I really, really liked. He's Reverend Richard Wayne, Gary Wayne in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and tons of other good roles, but that's where I know him immediately from. But he was the guy who kind of sold it, and he kind of, when he told this copy of the consciousness that's basically like an Alexa, it's like, hey, your job is to run this house, and it just reminded me of like the Rick and Morty buttering toast bot.
Yeah, the butter robot, yeah.
And then some other episodes were really weird. I really like, that's the thing I think with that show is like half of that show I would super duper recommend, and the other half I think is completely skippable garbage.
Yeah, so it's like a kind of all over the place. Do they have different writers for every episode? Or
I don't
what?
think so. I think it's the same guy, but I think sometimes he just gets a little too... Like, I feel like some of the episodes can be half as long. You know what I mean? Like, he sets up, like, the big reveal. It's kind of like if you watch classic Twilight Zone, you're left in suspense. You're waiting to see what's going to happen. You don't really know. But in this one, it's kind of like very predictable with some of the things.
Yeah, you can kind of guess what like the reveal is going to be, and it kind of just like you're just waiting for that to happen at that point.
Yeah, like one of the ones that sticks out with me immediately, it was another episode where if a person got comatose, they could basically take a copy of their consciousness and put it into somebody else's brain, but like share that brain with them so they can feel all the physical sensation. And it's like, oh, it was this couple. They were in love and they had a child until the wife died. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if the wife's consciousness is going to get put in the husband's brain and then he's going to fall in love with another woman. Oh, and that's what happened. And it was only like a 20-minute long story.
Yeah, and they just spread it out over like 50 minutes or something.
But yeah, no. So the episodes that I really did like, there was the one that comes to mind. Basically, people would do some terrible things, like there was a rapper who made fun of a kid on TV who was trying to dance like him. And so people would say, oh yeah, death to this person. And then they would get killed by these robotic bees.
Really?
Yeah. And I just kind of like that idea because that whole episode plays with the idea where it's like, oh, you have consequences for your actions because I don't know if you care if I spoil it at all or if I shouldn't spoil the whole episode.
Is it like, what season?
It's like season 4. I think it's the newest season.
Okay, probably don't want to spoil it then. Yeah. For people who haven't seen it.
Yeah, I won't talk about that. And basically, it goes a different way. It didn't go away I thought it was going to go, but yeah, like I said, there's so many episodes of that show that I think are just so freaking predictable. I can't stand it.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's worth a watch, but it's like, if the episode starts boring you, then maybe skip it.
Yeah, I would say read the description of the episode. Like, don't just sit and binge the whole series, because that's what I did, and there was a lot of episodes I just did not care about. But if the description sounds interesting, or if you want like my personal recommendations for episodes, I can let you know. But
okay. Yeah, there was a series that's similar to that. I think Hulu was trying to get on Netflix's because Netflix got all popular because of this. So like it's based off of do you know who Philip K. Dick is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, he's the guy who did iRobot.
Oh, okay.
So so like he androids dream of electric sheep, that sort of thing. So like they have it's a story. It's very similar to this, but I think it has to do with like androids and consciousness. I think.
So
they're I don't know if I think it just started, like the first season.
Oh, it's on Netflix now. You say? Sorry, I thought you were saying
it's on Hulu.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but it sounded very similar. So I was just like, I'm wondering if like, oh, they saw like Black Mirror blow up on Netflix, and they're like, oh, we could do that.
Yeah,
let's get this author that people like and do short stories based off of his stuff.
Yeah. Well, because Black Mirror, I feel like, too, didn't blow up until, like, this latest season, because Netflix picked it up. It wasn't always a Netflix original. I think the first 2 seasons, which, I mean, are also only 3 episodes long, each of the first 2 seasons, were on some British television show.
Yeah, I think I remember that. So, yeah, I think I was surprised when I heard it was on Netflix, because I was like, what? I thought I saw it somewhere else.
Yeah. Oh, also, one recommendation for the series, the first episode is like the entire first episode is it's one of the most I don't want to say controversial, but one of the weirdest ones to watch. I didn't have a bigger problem with it as a lot of people, but I've seen it. Yeah, with the pig.
Yeah,
and I see, because I really like the themes and ideas of that episode of like mass hysteria, but like
and like the court of public opinion sort of thing.
Yeah, but like just with some people did not like the whole idea with the pig.
Yeah, it was hard to watch at parts, but I think that was the point.
Yeah, but no, that's mostly what I've been watching. Besides that, I've been watching a ton of I don't know if this counts as something we should talk about, but YouTube cooking channels. I just found 2, but I found 2 ones that I've been binging all their stuff again lately. Yeah, so
yeah, I've never been really much into YouTube cooking stuff. I should be, because I suck at cooking.
Yeah.
I suck at cooking so bad.
Yeah, well, I think I showed you one of them. It's You Suck at Cooking. I think I showed you.
Yes,
yeah, I love
him. So you showed me that. That one's pretty funny.
He's kind of for people who haven't heard of them. He's kind of like How to Basic, but if How to Basic like
made sense.
Yeah, made a little bit of sense. He also, I think the thing that I like the most about You Suck at Cooking is he is so good at editing, like just all the little edits, but
the little edit, especially when he's like just like chopping things and he'll just chop it in some stupid way, but the editing makes it almost seem like it would work.
Yeah, or like I realized this in half of his episodes, he just gives himself 2 left hands sometimes.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I never noticed.
No, he just does that, and I was like, wait a second, and he just like that's what I'm saying. Is like this guy is this good at editing, and he uses it to make these shit posts. I love him though, but yeah, no, You Suck at Cooking is great. If you want to actually learn how to cook, though, do you know Binging with Babish at all?
No, I've never heard of it.
So his whole channel is he finds foods from like TV shows and movies, and he recreates them. And sometimes he'll recreate them like in the really shitty way they were made in the show, but then he'll do it again, but do like an edible version.
Okay.
And yeah, he also, like, if you want to learn like how to cook, he's just really fun. He probably got most famous for he recreated the Rick and Morty Szechuan sauce from McDonald's.
Oh really? Okay. Yeah, I think I heard about that.
Yeah. He like analyzed the ingredients, broke it down, made homemade chicken nuggets. It was fun to watch. But I've been binging his stuff again.
I might actually have to check that out. It's you said it's good for people who are like newer to cooking.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to cook.
Yeah, if you watch, especially if you start with his earlier episodes, he'll go over cooking techniques. He also does a whole series of like basics with Babish, which is like, hey, here's how you cook a whole chicken. Here's things you should own in your kitchen, which I don't own most of. You Suck at Cooking is also pretty good because he goes through how to like make the stuff pretty handily.
Yeah, he actually does teach you how to cook it for the most part, minus a few like
minus some memes.
Some goofs. But yeah, I might have to do that. I might have to like come back and share my results on that one, because I might give it a go. Be like, I'm gonna try cooking some food. If I burn my house down, then, and this is the last show you guys hear, then you know,
yeah, rip
goodbye,
Trey.
beautiful, horrible dumpster people. But switch gears real quick though. One last thing I want to talk about before we switch on to the major topic of the night. I have one game I did start playing that I hadn't before. It's called Celeste. Have you heard of it?
Celeste. I saw Donkey's video on it.
Yeah. I just picked it up yesterday, and I've been playing it for like an hour or two. I'm not super far into it yet.
Okay.
But I for people who like platformers, I really like it. It's really fun. Yeah, I've been in a really big platformer mood, so I re-downloaded Super Meat Boy. Got really angry at it and then uninstalled it immediately because that game makes me so angry on so many levels. It's just the fact your character slides all over the place just really, really upsets me. Like, I'm trying to do like these tight jumps and the character just decides to ice skate all over the place. And some people really like that about it because like it gives you a lot of momentum, but for me personally, it just gets really, really aggravating.
Yeah, I know when I tried to play it, I couldn't handle the platforming at it. And
yeah, I mean, I really, really like platformers. I think they're a lot of fun, but the Meat Boy, just that one thing, the fact, like, I like the fact you can wall jump. I think that's always fun. I like how fast you can move, but man, like, doing precise jumps in that game, especially later in the game, where if you don't do a precise jump, you die, like, immediately. Like, the game is very punishing. But, like, landing where you want to sometimes can be impossible because of how slippery everything is. Like, you land and you slide a bit, and you might slide into a saw blade or something.
Yeah, no, like I said, that's kind of what got me on that game. I'm just very not platform-based. I'm not very good at... Like, people that need to almost have, like, the right muscle memory for it, and I'm just not good at that, too.
Yeah, and, I mean, yeah, I get people who don't like platformers, because, I mean... They're not for everybody. But yeah, Celeste, though, very cool. I really, really enjoy it. Especially, like, this is the same people who made, they made that archery game, the one 2D archery
not Nidhogg, but I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
The 4-player archery fight game.
Is it Towerfall?
I think Towerfall.
Yeah,
Towerfall.
Ascension. Yeah. This is the same people who made that. So, and it feels very similar to that, like control wise. So if you liked that, like the way that your character is controlled in that, you'll like this, like minus a few things because like you can't like you can like double jump, you have like an air dash, and you have like this climb move.
Yeah.
But what I like about it, and I mean, I like and dislike because I really like Metroidvanias, but like your character only has those two moves for like the whole game, from what I can tell.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing anything about it. I think Donkey didn't mention any other powers at least.
But this like the level design is just so nice that like it's like every puzzle they give you is just so unique that you're just like, wow, I didn't even know I could do that. I remember I must have died, I think 90 so times in this one puzzle that I was trying to like double jump across, and then I was like, wait a minute, I have a wall climb. I can just press a button and stick to walls, and then I beat it my next try, and I'm like, I'm so dumb. I'm the dumbest person who exists. But yeah. I don't like that. I like having those like aha moments where like the game is kind of almost a puzzle game, but it also requires you to have good dexterity because like, you know, it's a platformer as well. And like there are some parts where things are chasing you and you have to escape them. I think the one part I went to here is like the thing that was chasing you would mirror your movements exactly, and like every screen they would add another one, so there'd be two of them, and then three, and then four, and you have to like escape, you have to like get through this whole series of challenges while these things are chasing you.
Yeah, no, it sounds interesting.
Very, it's from what I hear, especially like the challenge levels are actually just dastardly hard. Like it's very difficult. If you like difficult platformers, I think it's probably your speed. It's also very charming. The premise is like a girl just wants to climb a mountain just to say she can, and then like everybody, she has all these self doubts about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming there's more. Again, I'm only like an hour into the game. I don't know how long it is, but it seems I like the art style. The art style is very Towerfall, but like cutesy.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. And I do know the challenge levels of Donkey. Again, like all of my knowledge of this game is based on Donkey's video, but he said the challenge levels are like literally unfair.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, and like even like some of the normal challenge, like normal levels are kind of the first it's not uncommon for you to die a few times just getting the rhythm of it and stuff.
Yeah,
but when you get that flow on, that's just, it feels good. Feels real good. Like you're just like jumping all over the place, like flying through these like two portal things, or like triple jumping with like crystal and stuff. It's like, wow, this is a lot of fun. Yeah, that's all I really wanted.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll probably file it in the category of games that I think are really cool, but you wouldn't be way too bad at to play.
You'll never touch. Yeah,
yeah, it's gonna sit there with Cuphead.
A lot of games. Yeah, I have a lot of games like that you probably would play that I just can't. Something I'm not good at.
I mean, it happens. I play a lot of Stardew Valley and Harvest Moon type games. Man, anybody can be good at those.
I don't know.
Yeah, but so anyway, let's steer into the big boy talk here.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about the real shit.
Yeah, so our challenges that we talked about, if we want to refresh people real quick, Trey challenged me back in the first episode of the podcast to watch Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly thereafter, his negative challenge to me was to watch Berserk 2017?
It's 2016.
2016, sorry. The second season was 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did I force upon you?
You wanted me to watch Ancient Magus Bride, which at the time was like 12 episodes, and then the negative one you wanted me to watch is Big Mouth on Netflix.
Yep. So do we want to start positive then go negative? Because I can talk for a little bit on Unlimited Blade Works. I guess I can kind of talk. I think I'll have the least to say on it than anything. I thought it was a fine show. I finished the first season. I know you mentioned that things get a little more real in the second season, but
yeah, I think after like looking it over, because I forgot that it wasn't they split it into two seasons, because back when it first came out, or sorry, it's all one big chunk now, and before it was like two seasons. Yeah, I like looked it over and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Season 2's where like things get actually good in the show. Like the first season's a lot of just like them kind of hanging out. It felt like. Yeah, there was like some intrigue with like some of the school stuff and like them figuring out who all the characters in the battle were and stuff. But like you didn't actually get any of the interesting stuff until season 2, I think.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I felt. I think the thing that spoiled me for this show too is I watched Fate Zero before I watched this show, and I feel like Fate Zero did everything did the highlights of this show better than it
I do think the end of the show is better than Fate Zero. I think just like some of the reveals you get later in the show are just so crazy. You're just like, wow, what the fuck?
Yeah, I might go back to it. It wasn't offensive by any means. It didn't really sink any hooks into me though.
Right, I gotcha.
I guess I also just don't get like why the show is as wildly popular as it is and why it has a cooking spin-off this season.
Yeah, okay. Can we talk about that for a minute? Can we just talk about the fact of how popular Fate Stay Night is? And I'm with you. I don't get it. Like I like Fate Stay Night. I like Unlimited Blade Works. I thought Fate Zero was fine. But man, and like I think it's one of the prettiest shows that I've ever seen. Like some of the animation, and I can't remember what the studio is off the top of my head, but the animation is so good. But man, it's just so. I just don't get it. I don't think the story is as good as a lot of people like to say.
Yeah, that's what I said is I don't get it. The fight scenes are cool, but like how is it popular enough that we have 2 Fate series that came out this season, and we had Fate Apocalyptic. Fate Apocrypha was last season. Now we've got Fate something else
and a cooking show.
Yeah, which I don't get it. I don't understand.
I think we have like 3 movies. Like a bunch of OVAs, like it is one of the most popular, and it's funny. It's a visual novel. This all stemmed from a visual novel.
Yeah,
this isn't
from Mega. Well, before it was a visual novel, didn't it stem from a dating sim game?
I do not know. I couldn't tell you that. I just know it was a visual novel. I know some of my friends have played it, and from what people say, it's really good. And I thought especially the end of Unlimited Blade Works was really, really fascinating. There were some really interesting things about it. But at the same time, I just think there's better stories out there. Like it's just, I thought like for another one, like another one based off of a visual novel, Steins Gate had a fantastic story, and I don't think it's nearly as popular as Fate.
Yeah, I think Steins Gate is pretty popular, but Fate is like cute. Like there's the video from 2 or 3 years ago where Sir Ian McKellen just reading Unlimited Blade Works.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I have some theories. I think a lot of it just comes down to people like Saber.
Yeah,
I think is what like I think she's like one of probably the most popular characters in like the medium, right? Like I don't know, like so maybe it's just I think that has something to do with it. Like Saber is just a very popular character, and so like people like keep making things with Saber in it.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. But now I don't know. Like I said, maybe I'll go back and finish it one of these days. But
I would recommend it, but I mean, the next whenever we do, are we doing the next things today, or are we doing that later?
I'd have to think of yours while you're talking to challenge you, but I'm also game for doing another positive challenge, or maybe we can. No,
I think we should do either. I think we should do off, like we should do on off, like the positive first, then the negative. You know.
Or I've got this. How about we both challenge ourselves to catch up on and finish Pop Team Epic this season?
Oh yeah, no, let's do. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Pop Team Epic.
That's the positive one. Both of us are gonna watch Pop Team Epic, and
oh boy. But so anyway, that's pretty much what I said. I don't have too many thoughts on Unlimited Blade Works. How do you feel about Ancient Magus Bride? Did you finish the first season?
Yeah, I didn't. I'm not finished, but I got I got pretty far into it because I mean it's still ongoing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
basically, did you finish the first 12 episodes or?
Yeah. I liked it. I thought it was good. I have some complaints, and most of the complaints have to do with pacing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think the pacing is a little bit weird, but it's a beautiful show. It is a gorgeous show with I think it might have one of the best soundtracks like overall that I've heard in a long, long time. Like it's very, 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 very good to listen to, and I think it's a very dynamic soundtrack. Like it feels like the soundtrack you're listening to feels like it was made for the episode you're on, and not just they're just playing something that like was supposed to be used for the whole season, you know?
Yeah, so that's with the music. I can just talk to you about my favorite scene from that show. And that I think this scene is half the reason I love that show. But it's in the 12th episode where she gets her wand and
right.
Yeah, and it's the part where they play the theme song, but then they just drop the background music and it's just the person singing. I was like, oh,
I know, so good. It feels so good. Like it's like that's the best. Like better than the animation, better than like the storyboarding or anything. I think the music of that show is just really good.
Mm-hmm.
That is probably my biggest praise. I think more shows should do that. I know Land of the Lustrous also did that, where like every episode had its own theme soundtrack.
Yeah.
So like it felt very dynamic. I think more shows should do that. I know it's a lot of work, but I think it really, really, really sells you on it. It makes every episode feel special, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I definitely get what you're saying.
Yeah. But the things I don't like, some of the, like, when things are really tense, some of the characters, some of the things they do just don't make sense to me, and I don't, like, there'll be things that they'll just be, like, standing around while things are happening, and I'm not really sure why they're not doing things. Like, I just don't understand that. Like, maybe that didn't translate well from the manga or something. I'm not really sure.
I think it could be some of that. I know with some of the things, what's one of the situations you're minding? You can describe it. It's not spoilery.
Yeah, I guess it's we can even go to, this is pretty early, like when they go to talk to the King of the Cats, right?
Yeah.
So like these sorcerers come in and start beefing with them, right? And the main characters, a lot of the time they're just standing there while things are happening to them, and I feel like if they're they're powerful enough that they should be able to like do something about it. And like things end up working out for them, but I don't feel like it was necessarily because of the characters' actions more than just like the enemies, because at this point they were enemies, just kind of let them do things. And it's just like I'll be watching them and I'm like, if he took 2 steps forward and reached his hand out, things wouldn't have happened this way. And I'm just very confused as to like why that's happening. And and I think it's jarring because the show just seems so quality in the more quiet moments, but like in the high tension moments, you're just like, are the characters supposed to be doing something? Like, to another instance, and this is not super spoilery because that's still pretty. It's like episode 7, 8, right? Like when she's doing the pact with the dark dog, right? Yeah, the enemy guy's just kind of chilling the whole time. He's like, "No, I want that dog," and he just sits there for like a solid 2 minutes while they're doing their incantation, just kind of looking at him. And I'm just like, he said it so many times that he wants this dog, but he just doesn't care. I guess I don't really know, or like,
yeah,
it just doesn't...
no, I agree with you on that one. That one I was like, why isn't he doing things? With some of the other times,
again, I think it just might be something that is just not translating well. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it could be that. I also think that for some of them, with the Magus himself, Elias, I think when he is in some of these situations, he is not reacting right just because he doesn't care, almost. If you get what I'm trying to say about Elias, he's very...
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling too. Like, I was... I'm not that I kind of wrote that off in some of the situations where like he's only kind of feigning to have emotions, so like he doesn't really he might not react in a way that would make sense to me. But like it felt like there were times when like things should have been, characters could have done something and they just didn't, and it wasn't because they had a reason to, it's just they didn't because they didn't. I don't like, you know what I'm saying?
No, I definitely get that.
And it feels like they didn't because like in the manga it might not have stood out as much because like a long moment in the manga might have been 1 panel or 2 panels, which a long moment in the anime, like which would have been looked awkward in the anime, might have only been like 1 or 2 panels in the manga. So like it might have it might not have translated well because they want to have this big emotional moment, but like at the same time tense things are happening because like I think the show's at its best when when it's quiet and like there's no urgency, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
We're just telling like a beautiful story, and it's I think that's probably the best, one of the shows at its best. But like when things are super tense and like nobody's doing anything, it just feels really odd.
Yeah, I get that.
The story is good. I think the story's like good. So like it's not like it's mostly just that, and it like kind of sucks me out of like the universe they're trying to create, and like. Because like if it almost feels like it. This is a weird thing saying about something animated, right? But it almost feels like they're like actors in a play less than like a people in a world sometimes. You know what? You get what I'm saying?
Can kind of get that. I mean, I got really sucked into the characters and stuff. I do really like the show. But I can definitely see where you're coming from.
It's a good show. It's a really good show. Like that's not a issue.
Do you think you're gonna stick with it and finish it out? You think?
I might do that. I have a few things I want to finish first, but I'll come back to it though.
Yeah, I'll just say I've been staying pretty constant on it. It's pretty good still. There's some tension building, and the one main villain guy, Joseph Carthophilus, the Wandering Jew. He's all those names. I don't know which one he's supposed to be in the show called, but he's starting to do some more things, and it's pretty interesting.
Cool. Yeah, I might come back to it. I'm glad the show exists, especially because it brings like a much needed breath of fresh air into the anime fantasy genre, because I think it was good. They were getting kind of stale there for a while.
Yeah, and I think that's why it got me. I'm super into fantasy, so
yeah, I like fantasy too. I've been a little tired of anime fantasy because it feels like a lot of them are just like, even the ones that aren't isekai feel like they're isekai. Like, not like a lot of them just feel like they're trying to really hard to be like the standard RPG Tolkien-esque fantasy. Like, I don't know why. Like, hell, like is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Is it basically an isekai, but it's not? You know, and it's like, you know,
yeah. Oh,
it's just like it's just so boring. Like, it's just like it's just so tried at this point that I just don't enjoy it anymore. And even a lot of the manga I was reading too are just very much that as well.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, but anyway, so I think generally we both enjoyed our positive show recommendations. About our negative show challenges, whatever you want to call them.
Boy. Yeah.
If you want me to go first again, I can talk about Berserk 2016. So
yeah,
this show,
tell me about it.
This show, okay, so hear me out. For the first like 3 episodes, I didn't understand the hate. And I think I actually messaged you. I was like, this
yeah, no,
not...
you I think you messaged me like, don't be mad.
Yeah.
But
I didn't understand the hate. It was a bad show. The CGI was ugly, but I mean, there was way worse shows. But then as it went on, like, nothing happened, and all of the storytelling just kind of fell flat.
Right.
And okay, so refresh me, because I've never read the Berserk manga. Did this take place like in the beginning of the manga, or did it skip around? Because it felt like it skipped around.
So yeah, it's a very, very abridged version of the manga, especially because it also skipped the. I think it just completely skipped the golden age arc.
Yeah.
Like, and I think you watched the Berserk movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are just the golden age arc. Like, that's what the lion's share of all animes ever made about Berserk are just that arc. And that's probably the most beloved part of the whole series is that arc, just because it's so touching at points. But that's literally a flashback in the manga. It's in the anime and the manga. All the stuff that occurs in that flashback happens years before the stuff that's happening there. And I think this anime, which is why people were excited about it, is after that. Like, it takes place in like the quote unquote present day of Berserk. But I think the problem is one, it's like super abridged. Like, they just fly through the source material.
Yeah.
And two, like, they like put people in places they weren't just to have them in it. Like, for one thing, I mean, I didn't watch the anime obviously, but I watched like the first 2 episodes. That one kid in the bar that ends up joining him. I don't know if he did that in the first season.
Yeah, he did. He follows him around.
He's not there. He doesn't show up until way later. Like, he shows up like literally after that whole thing.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, so like they're trying to condense it, and I think that series does not do well to be condensed like that.
Yeah, kind of the feeling I got from it is I feel like you had to know, you like had to understand and know about Berserk going into it, like the whole universe. But it also, if you did know about the universe, you knew that this wasn't good.
It was just, it's almost like, who is this for? Because it would just, if you knew Berserk, which you have to know Berserk to understand what's happening in the show, it seems like, because they're bridging it so much, like they condensed it so much. But if you knew Berserk, then you would hate this. So it's like, it's bad. It's just it's not good. Okay, so worst part of the show, I have to know, like, what was the worst scene? Like, if you had to pick a scene that just like made you want to throw up.
Well, honestly, okay, this is going to be a weird complaint, but I really hate how they Barbie and Ken doll everybody in the show, because Berserk has a fair amount of nudity in it.
Yes.
And I would have been fine if they like just censored it with like, oh, they're wearing a shawl in this scene instead or something. But just the weird Barbie dolls effect.
Oh,
because they like will zoom in on, it's like the whole scene where I can't remember her name, but it's the papal knight captain lady.
Yeah, the knight captain. Yeah, I can't remember her name, but yeah.
It's the whole scene where she gets possessed and she's just like riding on top of his sword. And that's not a euphemism. She like straddles his sword. Yeah, straddles his sword. But it's so weird because they'll like zoom in to like her nakedness, but it's just like this weird Barbie doll looking thing. Basically, maybe that scene, or I think the other scene that I thought was just really bad was when he was fighting the angels of the head pope, not the pope, but when they get turned into angels,
the religious leader, and they get turned into quote unquote angels.
Yeah, quote unquote angels. And I think it was more so. It wasn't even so much gross. It's like this could have been such a really cool fight, and just the choreography is so bad.
Yeah, the choreography. I think there's a video that everybody, if you like Berserk, you should watch it. It's by Super Eye Patch Wolf, where he breaks down just how shit the choreography in Berserk, in this new Berserk is. It's real bad.
Yeah, it's real bad. And I mean, again, like I said, I was going into it fairly open-minded. And the first couple episodes, I was like, this isn't the worst thing ever made. And then I was like, I can get it, where if you were like a fan of Berserk and this is what you get.
Yeah, no, the show, like, seeing some of the choreography, especially for, like, some iconic scenes where, like, these do it, like, I just wanted to, like, actively kill myself, like, looking at it. It's very much trying to, like, ooh, we're 3D, we can do these 360 shots you can't do in 2 dimensions, even though those 360 shots don't look good in 3 dimensions, so, like, don't do them.
Yeah, I think, honestly, the 2D didn't look that bad. It looked passable.
Because like every once in a while they'd have like 2D scenes, and it's just like, this is not too bad. And then like they'd go back to like the 3D crap, and you're just like, oh Jesus. And like doesn't help, like they all look like PS2 models. Like they're not. They're not rendered well, so like that doesn't help at all.
Yeah. Anyway, we can continue to shit on that. Let's shit on something else real quick. So.
Okay. So the show you made me watch. Is Big Mouth on Netflix, which I am very confused about that show for a number of reasons. Number one, I looked it up on Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes. It is rated extremely well. Like,
really?
People, like critics especially. I think the general fan reception, like general populace perception of this, is kind of mostly negative with a little bit of positive, but like. Critics loved this show. I don't understand it. Like, I don't know if Netflix, like, slipped them some money under the table or what, but man, it is not... I just don't see what they're seeing. Like,
I mean, I'd believe it. The show looks ugly, and...
Yeah, that was the first turn. Like, that's why I didn't initially watch it, is because it just doesn't look good. Like, the character designs are terrible. The animation is very Family Guy-esque. Like, it's just not... It's not super great to look at in motion, and it doesn't look very good. It looks ugly as sin, like design wise. So like that was like the initial turn off. But like that would be okay if the show was actually good, But the show itself is actually bad. Like it's actually terrible. So like.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Like, I know the show basically plays with, like, puberty ideas.
Yeah, I mean, the basic premise, because, like, I think the show forgets its own premise sometimes, is that one of the characters, and I guess all the characters at some point in their lives, when you hit puberty, your puberty is represented by a monster called the puberty monster, which I think is actually kind of a neat idea. It's an okay concept. Like your puberty is actually a physical, like there's a physical manifestation of your puberty that tells you to do all the things that like your hormones are telling you to do when when you hit puberty, which is an okay concept, except for like the fact that this is the thing that bothered me the most about it is, and I think this like it is. I have other issues, but this is like the big one where it's just like they don't really treat the kids in this show like kids at all. They're basically tiny adults, and so like when these tiny adults are doing and saying things that are very, very mature. Like mature as in like sexually mature, and like then the show will like illustrate these points on these like 13-year-old children, and I'm just like, I'm not comfortable anymore. This is uncomfortable. They're gross. It's like these are like horrible monster 13-year-olds, and you're just like, oh, stop! I don't want to look at these things that are happening on screen anymore.
Yeah, I know that's part of why I'm not super big in the show, because it has a lot of comedians I like. I love John Mulaney; he's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and like it's okay. So like there are points in the show where I genuinely laugh, especially anything to do with the ghost of Duke Ellington, because he's a character in the show. And I guess ghosts are just kind of a thing in that world, I suppose. Whatever. They don't really acknowledge it.
Whatever.
The show doesn't care to explain it, so I'm not gonna like make it a thing. But everything he does, I think, is really funny because he just like jokes about the fact, like he'll be like giving advice to the kids, and then he'll like make a joke about the fact that being dead sucks, and it's just like really funny.
Yeah, no, that's great.
But the main, like, the thing that really, that's most parts are funny, but, like, for the most part, the comedy in the show is not good. It's just, the pacing's terrible. Like, they have characters that, for one, most of the characters in the show are very unlikable, so, like, you don't ever really feel like rooting for them. And two, a lot of they'll just do jokes and then just immediately they just like fly past it and just go to the next joke. Like the pacing of the show's terrible. Like,
yeah, that sounds Family Guy pacing. Whose
decision it was to just like make it like rapid fire, spitfire comedy, but like it just doesn't land. And like they'll try to have these like deep BoJack Horseman moments sometimes, but because the show is so spitfire, it just doesn't land ever. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. It looked bad. I wanted to subject someone to it.
It's very bad. I hate you. I want to actually physically harm you. I don't. I love you, Dan, but
that's fair. Nah, well, just remember this. Hold it close to your chest for the next thing you make me watch.
I mean, I don't think I need to punish you any more than Berserk 2016, but you know,
I beg to differ because that was digestible. Yeah. So unsurprisingly, the shows we thought were bad were bad.
We're bad. Yeah, go figure. It's weird.
But it's all right because now we have Pop Team Epic.
Yeah, we'll do Pop Team Epic, and then afterward, I mean, I think we gotta continue the trend though. Like, we gotta get some awful shit, like actually
don't
bad,
worry.
Cancer bad. You and me are gonna hate each other by the end of this.
I have ideas.
Ooh, I'm excited. Sort of.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so I think that'll about wrap this episode of the podcast.
Yeah, no, we can wrap it up. Yeah, so as always, you horrible dumpster people, you. I'm Trey.
I'm Dan. See ya.
And we'll see you next week.